So let's talk about M mode and what does that even mean? Well, first off, M mode is an option on pretty much every single camera. It's just that little M, and basically that's what most professional photographers shoot in. It's a mode where you have the most flexibility and you can change as many settings as possible. But there are three main settings in which you can change in this mode, and that is ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture. So basically, shutter speed is the amount of time that your lens is open. And this is what's gonna allow your camera to bring in more light or less light depending on which scenario you're shooting in. Second off is aperture, or some people refer to it as f-stop. And aperture basically refers to the opening in your lens which allows light to pass through. Basically, a lower aperture allows for more light to pass through, giving you a higher exposure, and a lower f-stop, like around f22, lets less light pass through, which gives you a lower exposure. And third is ISO, which basically refers to the signal gain of your actual camera. And signal gain basically just means its light gathering ability. Alright, so now that we've broken down what the three main settings are going to be that you're going to be able to change in M mode, let's talk about how to balance them out and which settings to use in which scenarios. So in pretty much every scenario, I try to keep my ISO as low as possible. If your camera goes down to 50, great. If it only goes down to 100, keep it at 100. But I generally try not to go over like 250 to 300 ISO. Basically, if you do too high of an ISO, your image is going to turn out really grainy and it's just not going to look great, and you might have to do a ton of post-processing. So shutter speed is entirely dependent on what kind of lens you're using. So if I'm using a 200mm lens, my shutter speed should be faster than 1/200. And this is just so that you can produce a sharper image with the lens that you're using. So if you're using a 35mm lens, your shutter speed should be faster than 1/35. And then where you're gonna end your shutter speed, as long as it's higher than that, depends on your lighting scenario and all of the external environmental factors that come in when taking your photos. And aperture is kind of the same. Aperture totally depends on your lens. Some lenses are sharper around f11, some lenses are sharper around f8. It really is just entirely dependent on your lens, but that's just another one of those things that you have to, it's kind of hard to explain, but the best way I can describe it is basically just balancing them. So if you're making your shutter speed slower by lowering it, say 1/30, your aperture needs to go up. I try to do aperture and shutter speed before I even touch ISO. ISO is basically my last resort. It's what I change last. So as long as these two are balanced and my photo looks good and my ISO is as low as it could possibly go, then that's when I'm snapping the photo. So if you get proficient at all three of these things, you can shoot in M mode. You have basically conquered the first step in becoming a professional photographer. If you're able to shoot in M mode, you have an advantage over like 80% of the people who have cameras, because probably 80% of people shoot in automatic and just don't really have any idea what they're doing. So if you have that basic knowledge of how to shoot in M mode, you are that much better of a photographer. So I really hope this video helped. If you have any other questions, or if I didn't explain something as well as I possibly could have, please leave a comment. If you're still confused, I hope I didn't confuse you more. That's not my goal. My goal is not to do that. So I'm really sorry if I did that. So for the month of June, I'm going to be creating videos like this that are just basic understanding of cameras and getting to know your camera and how to use it. If you guys have any other videos like that just go over basic camera stuff, basic camera knowledge, something that you're a little bit confused about, leave it in the comments and I'll probably make a video about it. So yeah, that's going to be it. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Later.